If you'd like to hit your forehand with significantly more power and at the same time significantly less effort, then please watch through this video. The student example here that I'm about to show you is pretty wild. It's one of the biggest contrasts that I've seen recently as far as like before and after. Let me go ahead and show you what her swing was looking like before. I'll show you a couple in full speed and a couple like at half speed. What I want you to pay close attention to specifically is how her racket moves, how her forearm moves, and watch the general path and shape of how her racket moves immediately after contact. So here's a couple at full speed first to give you an idea of the level of intensity and speed that's happening here. Watch closely. And I just realized you don't have sound, so go ahead and watch that. Let me get you some sound here. Oof. Every time I watch this before swing, my body genuinely feels. Can you see what I'm looking at here with how her racket moves? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna unpack this for you in just a sec. Watch a couple of these at half speed. Now that you have an idea of her general like intensity and swing speed. And watch the movement of the racket immediately after contact. This type of abrupt movement only happens with a huge, significant amount of muscle contraction and tightness and tension muscling through the shot. And this is a huge problem for three reasons. When immediately after contact, the racket, instead of continuing on the path that it started on, and this is why it looks dangerous. This is why it looks painful. This is why it doesn't look aesthetically pleasing. Here's like the physics reason why. Her racket starts down here and has a nice upward slope to contact, and that energy wants to continue. The energy of her body, the energy of the racket, wants to continue in the same direction that it was started on in the first place. I'm blanking on the Newtonian law off the top of my conservation of energy, right? The energy starts in this direction and it wants to continue in this direction, but then literally milliseconds after contact, watch how the racket's direction dramatically changes. And you can see it. You can look at the muscles contracting here. And so this is a forceful, I don't mean deliberate in the sense that it's conscious or like she's trying to do it, but it's an active movement. And this is destructive for three reasons. Reason number one is potential for injury is dramatically higher when there's this much tension and tightness and contraction of muscles over such a very short period of time. Here, just to like define this. Here's contact right there, and then she continues up from contact. The ball has left right now. And now if we put a timer in here and we stop it when her racket completes that huge flip, it's only 1/10 of a second. So her muscles over fractions of a second are changing the direction of her racket, changing the direction of her body, and moving them in completely opposite, contradictory directions. And over time, that will wear down muscles and ligaments and tendons. In fact, this student relatively recently had significant surgery on her rotator cuff. And I just couldn't, I don't know. I feel very confident that the work we just did is going to save her additional surgeries down the road. So that's number one, is just physical health. Number two, when the racket face makes this kind of abrupt directional change, and look at where her strings are facing from here to here to here to here, and it all happens right around the point of contact. I understand the ball's already gone, but this tightness and tension doesn't happen instantaneously. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. When the muscles are collected and fired this aggressively, it starts to seep back earlier in the swing because it takes some time for those muscles to gather and contract. So, and I verified that we had lots of conversations during the day of coaching together, but in a nutshell, and I saw it during the warm-up. This student during the warm-up with the ball machine, just repetitive ball in her strike zone, was hitting the middle of the curtain, was hitting the middle of the net, and I mean on a fly, off her racket. Ball traveling, hitting the center of the curtain past the baseline, hitting the middle of the net, and then some were very, very well hit and in play and everything in between. That's because at the point of contact, wherever the strings are facing, the ball is going to go in that direction. And when there's this much volatility in the angle of the racket face in such a short period of time, if your timing is on, great. But if it's anything other than on, you're going to get a huge wide range of different results. And that's exactly what she was experiencing. All right, big problem number 3 is that this just takes so much more physical effort. This burns so many more calories. It just takes so much more energy to swing the racket this way compared to, here is after doing some work together. I won't have time in today's video to go like step by step, but in a nutshell, I was having her do a series and sequences of shadow swings and easy hits, going through progressions. And this is what her shadow swings were looking like towards the end of our time working on the stroke, which was probably about 45 minutes or so. Oh, and we were combining it with her husband happened to have to work on the same thing. So only half the time she was actually practicing. Oh, weird. still on half speed. Here's what some of her shadow swings were looking like towards the end of our time training this.
Swing. All right, right, Gino?
And so look at the difference in the direction the racket is traveling, the efficiency. Now here's some hits, the same feed off the ball machine. And you're probably not going to believe me when I make the next statement, but here it goes. With this level of intensity that you're seeing right now, she was hitting the ball just as hard as the swings you were seeing before. Meaning the speed of the ball coming off of her racket was the same with this level of intensity as it was with her prior level of intensity. And in a nutshell, and so why? Because the body is more free, it's more fluid, it's moving more smoothly. The racket is more free, more fluid, it's moving more smoothly. And when the body and the racket are moving naturally, flowing, they produce so much more force because the path of the racket lengthens and the muscles, instead of getting in the way because they're so contracted and so tight, they start to actually be more positive in their production of force through the point of contact. This is so, trust me, she was hitting the ball just as hard with this level of intensity as what she was doing before. It was super inspiring to watch. She did an incredible job. This is one of the biggest contrasts I've probably ever seen on the forehand.
Really nice.
Here's the after swings again. Look at the length of swing and the smoothness that the racket is traveling. Wow. And so you can hear my reaction like in the background. Right, so some of these, she's like absolutely crushing the ball, but her level of effort is so much lower. And in a nutshell, that's what you should be striving for at home as you work on your own game with ground strokes, with serves. For some of you, for many of you, even with volleys, you should be striving for more output with less input. And that efficiency points towards the body moving more biomechanically naturally. The body is not meant to deliver power through strain and struggle and contraction. We were talking about this. Like you can tell from watching her. Obviously, she's a great athlete. Obviously, she's worked out a lot, with the exception of lifting weights. Like they're like literally strength training under heavy load, low reps, high weight. There's a lot of contraction there and a lot of straining. That's about the only athletic setting that your body should feel that like continuous, constant, intense contraction and tightness. When you're trying to deliver force and energy from your body into another object, within the context of other sports, it should not feel that way. That's how it felt for her before, and I'm so happy that she's made this big improvement. If you're curious, by the way, most of you aren't watching it anymore, but my last upload on this channel about not actually watching the ball. Thank you so much for all the comments, for all the feedback. It clearly hit a nerve. And so I'm planning on producing like a full deep dive on that student and that lesson on the main Essential Tennis channel. So keep an eye out for that. And in general, that's gonna be my workflow moving forwards. On this, let me just like say it out loud. On this channel, I'm just doing kind of off the cuff, like here's what I worked on recently, just to share my recent students and stories from students. And the ones that people are really engaging with and really interested in, I'm taking those and doing a deeper dive on the main Essential Tennis channel. So if you would like to see a deep dive on exactly the process I went through with this student on her forehand, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Keep up the great work in your game. I'll talk to you again soon.